Welcome in everyone to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin here with my co-host James Haskell. In this episode, we're going to discuss and review the rookie season of first-round draft pick Odafe Oweh for your Baltimore Ravens. But before we get started, hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell, and we will keep you up to date on all your Ravens news. But Jimmy, where should we start when evaluating the rookie season of Odafe Oweh?
Yeah, I think we should start with the fact that I never had to eat a microphone cover. Never had to eat it for the
Never even had to really sweat it.
No, I mean, there was a moment where you guys thought I was sweating it, but I never was. But I guess this is where we can start evaluating. Let me just give you some stats, Glenn. Of course, his rookie season didn't play all games. He missed the last 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, he played in 15.
Okay, so he played in 15 games. So he missed 2 games, not 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He had 22 solo tackles, 8 assisted, 5 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles. That's what it says here. I thought he had 6 sacks.
Nah, just 5.
Just 5? Okay. Just 5.
Yeah.
You know, just to give you an idea, Glenn, on PFF, he graded out okay. Run defense, 68.3, pass rush, 64, and overall, of course, 68. So, you know, with that in mind, I want to start by saying this. You know, Glenn, that I was not excited about the pick.
Right.
I'm excited about Odafe Oweh's
future. I think that's putting it lightly.
Now.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if we could have a shirt made on demand where I just said, wow. Because people seem to pick up on that on draft night. So I'm excited about that. So analyzing his rookie year for me is about growth and seeing the bones of what we think can turn into a solid career. So I think anyway, I'll stop there and let you get into it, and then I'll give you some more thoughts. But yeah, I mean, like, what did you think overall? What, you know, and also what are you looking for as far as moving forward?
Yeah, so I guess I mean you mentioned his statistics, but also I wanted to point out that he was named to the all rookie team. So you know, you got to give credit where it's due there, and certainly they don't just give those awards away to anyone. So he earned that award. He was second on the Ravens in his total sacks, behind just Tyus Bowser.
Bowser, of all people.
Right, exactly. So you know, it's tough to kind of compare him to you know, other players around the league, because you know, not every player is asked to do the same thing, and certainly, you know, a guy who didn't start playing football till he was 17, 16. He was an older guy by the time he started playing football. Didn't play you know, so many years in Penn State. I think he was only there for a few seasons, and one of which was extremely shortened by the COVID season. So a guy who's relatively new to football, there's no doubt that we saw growth from him, and we saw improvement from him. Now the question is, how much more can he, you know, how much better can he get?
Right.
And so I'm excited. I think that having some fresh ideas, having a new defensive coordinator, which of course is happening. Not really sure exactly who it is yet. The leader in the clubhouse appears to be the defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald from the Michigan Wolverines, but not settled there yet. But I'm excited to see what some new blood will bring to this coaching staff, and possibly, you know, what it'll do to help Odafe Oweh continue to grow in his career, because he's a big part of this, you know, this I don't know if it's a retooling or how you want to call it, but the outside linebacker position continues to be a focus, in my opinion. I mean, when you look at Bowser, just tore his Achilles in the final game of this past season. He's not going to be himself all of next year, and certainly not in the initial part of the season. Justin Houston is now no longer a part of this team. He's an older guy, a guy who's definitely in the back end of his career. So really, Odafe Oweh is the only – I mean, who else do you look at on the outside linebacker position and go, we feel good about that guy? I mean, really, he's it going into next season.
Because Dalen, we didn't even get to see – we
don't know what he's got. Right? Yeah, he missed pretty much his entire rookie season. Bowser will be limited at best in the initial part of next season. Who knows if Houston or McPhee are back. So really, we have one guy that we know about. I mean, Ferguson, I guess, will be back, but nobody likes, you know, really the potential there. So it's really about Odafe Oweh, and can we get somebody next to him that will take
Mm-hmm.
some pressure off him? Because this guy, for being a rookie and being a relatively unknown player, he was double teamed an awful lot,
Yeah.
Jimbo, awful lot. So hopefully we can bring some players around him that'll help make his job a little bit easier. Because right now, as
Yeah.
it looks, he's going to be getting a whole lot of attention from offensive coordinators.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And even more so based on the fact that, like you also said, he's really the only known commodity that we feel really good about. And the only guy that moves us closer to the idea of getting a pass rush with 4 people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because he has that ability. But this is what I want to talk about and this is not to throw any shade towards Odafe Oweh or anything like that. It's to gauge how much we like Odafe Oweh at this point, right? So I agree with you. I liked what he's done. I'm looking forward to his potential, but I want to compare him to some Ravens of the past
Okay.
in their rookie season. And I'm not trying compare anybody to Terrell Suggs. You're normally going to come up short, right? But these are the guys the Ravens have taken and spent draft capital on. So I can only compare him to the other guys we've had in the in the team. So look at a guy. I'll start with Matt Judon. He's the most recent in his rookie year, 4 sacks. So not that
How many
sacks
tackles
everything.
did it say?
Let's see. Total tackles 27.
So Odafe had a better year than Matt Judon had in his rookie year. Okay.
Matt had 5 more tackles and Judon had, or excuse me, yeah, Matt had 5 more tackles. Odafe had 1 more sack.
Well, how many total tackles did
27.
Well, I got Odafe with 33.
22, right? Oh, I see what you're saying. Total. Yeah, my bad. You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, so he outduels Matt Judon in just simply stats. Now, this one isn't fair. Go down the list. Terrell Suggs, 19 solo tackles, 8 assisted, 12 sacks, 4 fumble recoveries, and an interception.
You're talking first ballot,
guaranteed,
obvious Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But fair.
You know what I mean?
You got to bring him up.
And really, it's just to send it's to set landmarkers, like benchmarks. Where are we in Odafe and how much we like him? And another guy I want to bring up that I think is grossly overlooked in the history of pass rushers here in Baltimore, especially homegrown guys, is Peter Bolwer. Peter Bolwer, strongest of if the forehead was a muscle, he would have the strongest forehead in NFL history. Peter Bolwer had 11.5 sacks his rookie year.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and think of how different the game was back then. Way less dropbacks, way more running. Still got 11.5 sacks. So my point in bringing those up, once again, not to throw shade at Odafe, totally different game, but so we feel good about Odafe, but like, where good? You see what I'm saying? Like, what do we think? So my question is really to figure out, what do we think he can become? Can he become, because of his raw athleticism and the fact that his roadmap or his runway is relatively short and he has a long way to go because of, like you talked about, his short time playing football, can he become a Terrell Suggs type producer from a numbers standpoint, right? Like, can he get close to that? Now, once again, like you said, first ballot Hall of Famer, but can he put up numbers like that? So what's your take on that? On, like, if you go from Judon to Bolwer to Suggs, you know what I mean? Like, good, better, best type scenario. Where do you see Odafe, like, now that you've seen a year of him, where do you expect him to fall? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think, man, it's tough to predict those kinds of things. But I think a guy who I look at as maybe the closest you could compare him to is Zadarius Smith.
Okay.
Zadarius Smith's rookie year, he had 5.5 sacks. Odafe had 5. Zadarius had 30 total tackles. Odafe had 33.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Glenn. Didn't I feel like he did more from the inside? Like, he kind of did both.
Yeah, they liked, but they moved Odafe around a little bit too, which kind of made people a little upset, honestly.
Yeah,
because they
I know
said,
you weren't hyped about seeing him in coverage.
No, not at all. I want to see what this guy's got pinning his ears back. But what's interesting is that we saw a dip in production from Zadarius in his following years before the explosion of his career in his final year in Baltimore, and then of course where he really took off was when he signed with Green Bay. I think all you can look at is to try and to try and predict what he could be is his physical traits. And as far as physical traits, Odafe Oweh is really second to no one when it comes to what he can do athletically. And as far as the speed and quickness and strength that he brings, that combination you'd be really hard pressed to find someone at his age that can even come close to what he's able to to put out there. But the question is, does he have the natural pass rush ability that those guys? I mean, I don't think there's any doubting that he doesn't have the natural pass rush ability of Terrell Suggs, because Terrell Suggs was, in college, he broke the sack record. He comes here, he has 14 sacks in his rookie season, and he goes on to have a massive Hall of Fame career where he amasses like 140 total sacks in his career, something absolutely. I mean, if you get to 100, you're a guaranteed Hall of Famer, and he surpassed that by a landslide. So I don't think he'll ever reach the heights of Terrell Suggs, but not many will. So I'm hopeful that he'll reach the heights of like a Zadarius Smith and get.
So what are you thinking? Like a few Pro Bowls and maybe a few double-digit sack type seasons, and outside of those outside of those seasons would be like fringe seasons where he's a fringe Pro Bowler and like an 8 or 9 sack number.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking right now. I think he could certainly get up into the realm of 13, as a career high for him. But who knows? I mean, we really don't know. Ultimately, he could come out next year with this
looking totally different. That's the thing. He could look totally different because he's so young in the game, right?
So young, has so much growth ahead of him. And if he can turn some of those physical traits into success on the field, then really the sky is the limit for him. I mean, so it's hard for me to predict. I just don't want to go too homer. I don't want to drink too much of the purple Kool-Aid and say, oh, he's gonna challenge TJ Watt's sack record. I don't think I'm gonna go that crazy. But honestly, the sky really is the limit for this guy. I mean, he's so young, so talented, and so athletic that he could end up being. I mean, he could challenge for the sack leader one season. You just don't know. But either way, I think we're both happy with what we saw. We would have liked to see some more consistency, because down the stretch, he really petered out. He didn't have any sacks in his final 4 games that he played, and only had 1 in the final 6 games that he played. Certainly got his sack totals early on rather than later.
Like one double nickel used to do at the end of his career.
Yeah, certainly Terrell Suggs, but he was also big in big moments.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Which Odafe
early
can say,
on
look,
certainly was.
Yeah, and Odafe can say, look, how do you think you won that Kansas City game? Yeah, I didn't have a sack in that game, but I had a forced fumble that was pretty damn important.
And recovered it.
And recovered it himself. So I'm still excited. I think it was a great pick, but certainly hope to see some jump in production and some snap count jumps. I mean, I know that Wink was a guy who liked to cycle guys out and keep legs fresh, but I want to see him play a little bit more snaps with some more regularity than he did in his rookie season, which is expected. He was a rookie, so let's let him get some legs under him and see what he's got his sophomore year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think overall I'm satisfied and looking forward to the future as well with everything to come. I think overall the season was a success for him. Give it like a B plus. Obviously it could have been better.
Yeah, I'd say that's a fair number. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like an 87.5%. You ride that curve, you get an A-, baby.
Now, do you think he was at all, or he will be at all criticized by the fact that his teammate, Michael Parsons, who ultimately went to the Cowboys, he won Defensive Player of the Year and had just a fantastic rookie year. He had 13 sacks and 84 total tackles. So, and you're talking about a guy who was drafted as a middle linebacker.
Yeah, it's insane.
And was asked to play DN.
I don't think so. If anybody gets criticized, it would be the Ravens for like lasering in on the wrong guy. While we didn't have a pick that high either, right?
Right, he was picked before him. Yeah.
Yeah, but nah, I don't see any criticism.
I was all pro, man, as a rookie.
Yeah, for sure. But look, I think Odafe has the same. People might think I'm a homer, but potential, like you said, potential. He has the same potential based on all the things you stated. But overall, I mean, I'm satisfied. I think we're both hopeful and looking forward to what the future can be for Odafe Oweh. Hopefully, he will take advantage of this offseason and come back looking like a tuned-up pass rusher. But let us know what your guys' thoughts are on Odafe Oweh. Give us your thoughts on his season, grade it out, and let us know what you predict of him in the future. Leave all your comments below, and we'll talk to you guys.